Hello there. It is Monday, the 27th of April, 2026, 5:06 p.m., and I'm out by my car and trying to figure out where I can put my stuff so that I can make a podcast. And I was just inside, and I just got back from a bike ride, by the way, in case you were wondering. And so I'm still trying to calm down a little bit. But I grabbed my phone, said hello to my parents, and then let them know that I was going to go record a podcast. And my dad said why. And I think he was mostly doing that just to kind of mess with me. I could be wrong. Shout out to you, Dad. You can let me know. But the answer that actually bubbled up to the surface was that it's because it's my job. And as I walked from the house to where I am back at my car, I was like, that is kind of, I do treat this like something that I am beholden to, like in a much more, what would you call it? It's like, I don't feel like I've been conscripted into doing this. Like, it's a voluntary, consensual, like, thing that I enjoy doing, but it's also like something that is creative, at least in so much as there's literally something that is created that didn't exist before. Not saying it's a good thing, but it is nonetheless a thing. So, shout out to my dad. Shout out to my sibling, Lo, who I think quite unfortunately pointed out that I've never given them any shout outs. So, hey, shout out to you, Lo. And hey, for good measure, shout out to Gabe. Shout out to Art. Shout out to Travis. Shout out to Janet and Randy. Hey, that was cool. Ran into Janet and Randy at a Mexican restaurant. Two people who I've spent some fun times talking about stuff with. That sounds pretty specific. And certainly people who are friends and associate with my parents. And I had to take note at that moment. I was like, man, if they drop a bomb on this Mexican restaurant, like, that's 20% of my listenership just gone, Like, it was funny. I've never been in a room with so many people who knew exactly what I've been doing for the past, handful of months or whatever. But yeah, just got back from a bike ride. It's been an interesting day of readjustment. The day has pretty much flown by. I love, having things to do, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I mean, I just like the fact that, I don't know if it's because I was trained in the school system or if it's just like a general type of thing about my personality that would exist. Maybe most people feel this way, but I like having stuff that I need to do that I don't necessarily want to do, and then also balancing that with things that I both need to and want to do. And I always kind of found in school that, the period of time that we had to be there was like a pretty good window to really give value to the time that was free from school. I mean, it goes without saying that, Friday night, Saturday, the weekend is obviously the best part of the week, I don't think I've ever met anyone. I mean, now I'm thinking about entrepreneurs. I'm thinking about Peter Diamandis. I feel like people who would be audacious enough to say that weekends aren't the best part of the week, I would venture that statement would not hold up to scrutiny. I feel like these people, these overachievers, these self-optimizers, I feel like if you put them in a polygraph test, I think that they would fail if they were to say that they didn't believe that the weekend is the best part of the week. You've worked for 5 days to be able to finally choose whatever you want to do. Even if you waste that time, at least there's a slight degree of empowerment in the fact that you chose to waste it. And that, hey, you're not going to be praised or damned for it. Hey, it's your time. How could you pretend that anything that isn't utterly yours could be empowering? I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to see the tendrils of logical inconsistencies. It's funny. because like, Notebook LM will analyze all of my transcripts, and I don't know if this is like a recent change, or maybe it's something that I'm only just becoming more aware of now that I listen harder. Like maybe it has always been a little bit critical, like Notebook LM. Maybe they've tweaked Gemini a little bit in the way that it actually answers the prompts that I give it with the source material that is my transcripts. But I feel like there has been a noticeable downgrade of them using like a bunch of superlative adverbs. Like, there was a period of time where I feel like every Notebook LM episode that I would make, it would start out with saying like, and this is just an absolute masterclass in endurance racing, and like stuff like that. Just very self-congratulatory, very sycophantic, very reminiscent of the GPT-4o era, if you will. And now I feel like when I'm listening to it, like very often they very directly challenge me at least once with some of the things that I say. And I think it's really interesting because, again, that I really key into that. It's, in a safe environment, such as an artificial intelligence model that is using your source material to explain you to yourself from a different perspective, like that's a very safe arena from which to take in criticism constructively, and to also just kind of like see where something that seems perfectly logical to me is perhaps better described through personal experience and my own personal intuition, and not necessarily something that is like an objective truth, which is what I'm kind of generally interested in anyway. Like I certainly don't know if the episodes would be as interesting if it was like 45 minutes of like why I'm actually so much stupider than I even think I am, kind of a Dunning-Kruger type of effect. But suffice it to say, I just enjoy listening to that content. So in this exact moment, I'm trying to be a little bit more aware of like, if I walk down the line of logic that I'm actually like espousing to believe, like, does it hold up to even one moment of scrutiny? If I can think of another logical way of doing something, or something that contradicts the logical way I think something should be done, like if I can hold both of those disparate ideas in my head at once, then I think that kind of cancels out both the positive and the negative experience of trying to wrap your objective experience around reality, so that you're kind of left with like not a feeling of like pride or a feeling of self-loathing, but like just like an understanding that it's actually better not to have either one. And so figuring out like what are the things that I can say that are honest about my life experience, that don't bring my emotional stakes of describing that experience up or down. It's kind of like maintaining elevation. I've been saying evolution for a long time with my dad. I'll be like, what do you think our evolution is? So now it's hard for me to remember the right way to say the word. But my whole point is just that generally, Notebook LM, it certainly changes over time. It's just, I'm not sure how public they are about the back end of Notebook LM. I assume Notebook LM probably, whatever's going on with Gemini will impact Notebook LM. So I guess I could extrapolate that far. I'm sure they're not completely different systems. But in any case, so today was a day of reacclimation and a day of needfuls. Woke up, felt decently good, got going. I started drinking coffee with cream in it. I just feel like I love to have coffee first thing in the morning. And as I have aged, I find that is like more and more physiologically taxing on my body if I have a empty stomach and then drink like a really strong cup of coffee. I find that it gives me not only like psychological, like anxiety, but also physiological discomfort, like I don't know, maybe, people change over time. So whatever biochemically has occurred, whether it's like a increase of something or a decrease of something, maybe my stomach just doesn't have the ability to buffer acid as well as it used to. Who knows? It's a 36-year-old machine. It's going to start showing signs of wear and tear eventually. So in any case, if nothing else, not even to cast it as a negative thing, all I'll say is that it's different now. I used to be able to drink an entire pot of coffee, and, maybe my memory sucked back then, but I don't recall having the same kind of like visceral reaction to it. So I started drinking it with some cream, which I think helps. If you think about like what a Tums basically is, it's like, notebook LM, you have to catch me here. Is it sodium bicarbonate or bicarbonate of sodium? It basically neutralizes. It's a buffer. It neutralizes acid. I guess I could just start taking a Tums. That sounds delicious. A nice little dissolved mint flavored Tums in my coffee. I could call it biohacking and make my own bespoke frickin' mint flavored. I could put electrolytes in it and B vitamins, and dude, I gotta stop talking about this. Anyway, so I started my day with that, and it seemed like it worked. In addition, in my opinion, to it just generally making it a gentler way to profuse things through my system with the addition of the cream. I also find that coffee, like cold coffee with cream in it, doesn't taste repulsive like just straight black coffee. Like coffee that's black and is cold tastes so bad. How bad does it? It tastes so bad that I've actually never really been able to get into cold brew, just because I feel like it just reminds me of like some of the worst coffee I've ever had in my life, and I just can't get over that hump. Because I'm drinking it, and I'm just like, isn't this the way it's not supposed to taste? Like coffee, like for me, it's very important that it's warm. And of course, this is just me reporting my own life experience, not saying anything. There's no accounting for taste, especially when it comes to coffee. But hot coffee, as far as I'm concerned, is the only way to do it. So, beyond that, did laundry. What else did I do? Put a bunch of stuff away. Just kind of got home yesterday and put things in let's call it the lowest state of entropy that I could stand. And then today went ahead and put them in the spots that they were actually supposed to be in. And so that felt satisfying. There was a period of time this morning, and it's kind of been a thing that I was triggered about all day, which is that I ate some eggs this morning and I got something weird on my finger, and I wasn't sure if it was from the eggs. It looked like mold, and it could have just been chicken feathers or chicken junk or some gross thing, or maybe nothing to do with the eggs that I had. But I started getting nervous that maybe the eggs that I was eating were bad. And they could be. That's the most unfortunate thing about health worries, is that you could be right. It's there's, if you're spending a lot of time worrying about something social, with your partner, with a friend, with a coworker, with your boss or whatever, people can kind of talk you down from that a little bit, or at least maybe more effectively, or maybe I'm just not giving that credit because I just don't really think about things. Those aren't the bulk of my existential worries have to do with health, and having recently been burnt by my own body back when I was still on the trail and I got sick, I have a little bit of it's not even PTSD, because it's just stress disorder. It's been a part of my life for so long, being worried about health, that it's really not, it's always under the surface, and so when it gets a little bit triggered, then I'm just well, damn, I know a big chunk of my emotional and intellectual real estate today is going to be revolving around looking for signs and making predictions about my health. And that's annoying, because fundamentally, when it comes down to it, Like, I will get sick or I won't. And honestly, all of the time in my life that I have spent not being sick, I've also spent most of my life not being sick. But the time that I've spent being healthy vastly outnumbers the time that I have spent being sick. But because of things like, not even hedonic adaptation per se, but just because of like, saliency bias or something like that. Like, in my mind, the experiences that I had when I was sick were so emotionally rattling and traumatic, honestly, like that it doesn't even matter if they only happened once. Like, it was such an experience and such a visceral aversion to that sensation that I was like, I will do almost anything in the world to avoid this feeling, being sick. And so, I was a little bit triggered by those eggs. As you ever been triggered by eggs before? I feel like that's a unique thing. But yeah, that did happen. I'm still kind of a little bit worried about it, just because I'm like, man, like, this was my breakfast. I ate this at like 9:30 in the morning. Like, I've had so much time throughout the day to get sick if I'm going to, and if I am going to get sick, which, by the way, I don't feel sick, but I'm just worried that I will. Like, I hate the idea of being in my bed tonight and waking up and be like, okay, well, I'm sick, like basically exactly reliving what I had in the woods back when I was in Virginia. Probably not going to happen, but I have no idea. That's the irony. The biggest irony of the whole situation is, despite my worries and my greatest possible cognitive efforts to do everything that I can personally think of within reason without falling into some type of diagnosable pathology, I do those things. I don't touch my face with my hands as often as I can help it. I don't eat with my hands. I don't... I try to stay away from things that, to me, seem quote-unquote dirty. I try to wash my hands every time I eat. I try to be vigilant about what I am putting in my body, because I'm just like, well, that's literally the least and the most that I can do. Everything else, you got to let go and let God, my dude. But despite having this borderline pathological obsession, I still got sick. I'm just like, well, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's like, if it's just, to me, it's funny. It's just like, well, of course, like, that just shows how big the system is and how small I am, like the small-mindedness with which I am approaching a system that is far beyond my ability to influence or guide or avoid or anything. And so, it's a testament to general health. And it's funny because, I was just out biking, passing a bunch of manure-strewn cows that are just like living it up, just like, pooping where they're eating and licking each other's poop off of their fur. And, just like, why aren't you guys dead? Like, I feel like if I went out there and did that for a day, I would I'd have to be institutionalized if I wasn't hospitalized first, I would freak out. It's so bizarre to me that, like, this fragility that I fear is only present and real, like, kind of when I least expect it, like, it's like, I couldn't even recompose the chain of events that could have led to me getting sick in Virginia. Like, I just simply don't even remember exactly what I did that day. There are a couple of things that I remember, but who even knows if those had any relevance whatsoever. Also, it could have been something from days prior. Maybe I picked something up that I didn't think about. There's so many things. It's insane. I would think, NotebookLM, perhaps you can check me on this, but if there are more genetic combinatorial possibilities for humans during reproduction than there are atoms in the universe, then I gotta think the number of things that could ultimately cause me to become sick, the variety of scenarios that could lead to that result, have to be an order of magnitude, I'll say, larger. Like, let's say, I don't know, NotebookLM, check me on that. So, that's been something in my default mode network all day. Thinking about illness. I hate it. I hate it. It could be worse, you know. Oh, here comes my dad. Shout out to my dad. What's up? Okay. That was my dad coming to get a document. But yeah, okay, I think I've said enough about that. I really just wanted to say that just so I could hear myself say it. And hey, maybe Notebook LM can convince me of some other types of, psychological defense mechanisms that don't deny my feelings, but rather allow them to be respectfully dealt with, you know, whatever. So what else? I went to shout out to John Soleil. I should probably just say John. Shout out to John. Went over to his house and had some fun with a blowtorch. That was kind of cool. He had a bunch of weeds on his gravel driveway, and he wanted me to go kind of methodically and meticulously with a blowtorch and basically burn every single weed that was growing up from within the rocks. And that was a lot more of a process than I thought it would necessarily be. You know, I kind of got a rhythm. I was able to take the system and put something less chaotic onto it. Like, you know, for me personally, when I'm going through space, I always make squares. You know, I've mentioned this before, but for those who are new, it's part of like my needful process. I do this with my phone. I do this with my physical spaces. I do this with everything and anything that I need to break down into smaller pieces in order to fully process everything without missing details that could be important. And so I was able to, make a system that I was pretty satisfied with to make sure I wasn't missing any of the weeds. As I think about it, it's really not that much of an accomplishment, but I was pretty happy with the system that I devised. And it was pretty fun work listening to a podcast while I did it, and then hanging out with John and his wife, Peggy. Shout out to Peggy. And just shooting the chute for a while, you know, and then heading back here and jumping on my bike and going for a nice little, I think it was 12 miles. Is that right? I was kind of surprised because I thought that I took a shortcut at a certain point, but 12 miles is how long it typically is. So it must not have been, and it's also had a little bit more elevation. Did I take any pictures today? No. Anyway, though, yeah, it was a good ride. It felt pretty quick, and, you know, that's another thing where the devil's kind of in the details, because it's just like, well, if I actually am ill, would I be able to go on a 12-mile bike ride at 15 miles an hour? It's like, well, probably yes, because, like, the incubation period for salmonella is probably, like, at least 12 hours, which, I should stop thinking about it. So, yeah, went on a bike ride, and then I got back, and here I am. I think I made a note. I made at least one note. There was one, I don't know, I'm not super, like, necessarily proud of this thought. It was just a thought that I had, not one that I'm, like, really identifying with, per se, just something that bubbled up. And I was thinking about having, I was thinking about being a stand-up comedian, which I think, shout out to my sibling, is a somewhat common fantasy. And thinking that, like, my act would just be called, like, tangential observation. And the fact that, like, I would basically just do exactly what I do here, but try to be a little funnier, which is probably a recipe for failure, I'd imagine. But, yeah, I was thinking about, like, this one of the things that I talked with John and Peggy about was, like, balding, and how, like, I guess, I don't know, my testimony thereof, you know. I never really thought that, like, I would end up losing my hair, or that it would start to thin. I haven't really, like, lost my hair. It's just, like, thinner, you know. But, like how I dealt with that, so to speak. And so, you know, again, unbidden, this thought arises, and I'm just imagining, like, being on a stage and saying something about how, like, you know, well, first of all, I probably should just do it the way that I saw it in my mind's eye. So I will. All right. So to set the scene, I'm on stage, and here we go. So does anyone in the crowd have hair? You know, people some raise their hands. I'm like, well, you probably won't be actualized enough within yourself to understand what I'm about to talk about. But I do think that in order to become enlightened, it requires baldness. And this is like a bit of a chicken or the egg situation. But if you think about major religious leaders, maybe not leaders per se, but like people, when you think about someone, a monk, a Christian monk, Buddhist monk, Jain monk, like I feel like they tend to be bald. Like they're people who don't have hair. And, as I thought about that, it, has a lot to do with obviously casting off vanity and pursuing a life that kind of humbles you to elements that are larger than yourself and outside of your own egotistical considerations. But ultimately, what I personally think it comes down to is that these people, myself included, they have had to find a way to be okay with being bald. And I think that if there's any shortcut that you can take toward enlightenment, a direct shot across your bow, like being bald or losing your hair, like it is such a superficial, I'm off stage now, I'm just talking about it. It is such a superficial thing, but when it actually happens to you, then it feels so much more different. Like when I lived in Montana for a summer a few years ago, and I had never experienced like a Western fire season. Like, California has fires, Washington State has fires, Oregon has fires, Idaho has fires, Montana has fires, Colorado has fires. Like all those Western states, like they can get real dry. And, I would see it on the news or hear about it on NPR or something like that. And I would just be like, yeah, I know. Like fires, I can imagine a fire. Like, yeah, like it's like a big campfire that like no one can put out. Like sounds like something that's like kind of just like something that you could ignore, basically. And then when I experienced it, I was like, oh, this actually really sucks. Like, you can smell it in the air. You can see it in the sky. Like, and when you think about it, like, I could be wrong about this, but I've been saying it for years, so Notebook LM, do your magic. But, when a tree burns, it's releasing hydrocarbons, and similarly, to a degree, some component of car exhaust is also hydrocarbons. We're talking about, carbon being in the atmosphere, that leading to global warming. And so, it's not a huge leap to say that, like, if you're in a impacted area from a fire, it's almost like, breathing the exhaust of your car in a diluted way. And so I got to think that it's just really not that good for you. And as someone who is at least, superficially concerned with their health, like, I was amazed that it was such a impactful thing to experience, And similarly with balding, I was just like, yeah, people do be losing their hair. It really do be like that sometimes, though. And then it happened, and I was like, oh damn, like I thought that happened to everyone else but me. So yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that, I suppose. So anyway, tangential observation. Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's good enough. I knew that I had a few things that I wanted to talk about, and those are them. So, get what you get. And I certainly will report back. It was funny, I was talking to my sibling earlier this morning, and kind of like bragging in a way where it was like not really bragging. It was more like, I hope that if I say this, I can convince myself with enough false confidence for it to be true. But when I was talking to my sibling, I was like, it'll be fun for me to see how quickly my health concerns dissipate throughout the day. Like I look forward to forgetting about this worry. And yeah, I guess I'm going to be sitting with it for a little while longer. So for fear of reawakening the beast, I'll leave it there for now. And yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my parents, love you, bye.